You had a rough day, the workout got skipped, your healthy meal turned into a fast food drive-through. Guilt can move in fast and it tells you, hey, I already blew it, right? And this pattern, it repeats every single week for so many people. I know it did for me. You go for a few hard days and then you're like, you know what? Life is messy. Life feels off. I'll get back to this when life settles down. Have you ever told yourself that story before? Because I'm going to tell you what, it's in those hard days where your transformation can really either thrive or, for many people, it usually dies. And real consistency, it shows up really when real consistency, I'm going to say, is when you can stay on point even on those days when you want to quit. So today I want to break that down for you on what consistency actually looks like when your week starts to fall apart. And before we get into all this great stuff, if this is all hitting home for you and you're ready to turn your own story into something with more and more fitness success, I'm going to encourage you. You know I'm going to say it right down there in the lower third. TalkToPerry.com. I say lower third, like as you might be listening to this on the audio. But if you're watching on video, you can see it right here on the bottom part of the video. I say TalkToPerry.com. Let's get you going on your next steps on your journey so that you're building more successes than those start and stop days. Okay, so consistency, that's the theme for today. It gets a bad reputation, I think, because people picture someone who never misses a day. Somebody who never eats poorly, somebody who never skips a workout. And that version of consistency, it usually doesn't exist for most of us anyway. You know, you're chasing these things and you kind of set yourself up to fail before you even start. Real consistency, it looks messier. You've probably seen those memes or those images online where it says what people think success is, and it's like the straight line. You're going from A to B, but what it really looks like is along the way from going to A to B is all these squigglies back and forth and just really this messy stuff. So if you're going on, where it looks like you're missing Tuesday and you still show up on Wednesday, you're still making progress, right? If you're still eating, maybe you had an off lunch or something like that, but you still make good choices at dinner, you're still making progress. Progress comes from what you do after, I don't want to say it's a slip up, but after you kind of go off the grid a little bit and you're not looking at that slip up and saying, you know what, what's the use? I'm done. I messed up. I've seen lots of checklists and a lot of things where people got to get it all right and all into perfection. And when they don't do that, they get so frustrated with themselves, they think they have to start over again. I'm like, why start over? You've got this experience going forward. You're discovering the things that don't work. So when those things happen, don't allow them to take you off track again. Look at that as a lesson, but not a lot of people do that. They look at it as a frustration, a failure point, and a start over point. Your brain can treat missed days like proof that, hey, I've failed. This whole plan has just gone wrong. That thought, I know you've probably experienced this, that thought, it really spirals downward fast, right? So a missed workout, it turns into a missed week or a missed month. And, the time that you went through the drive-through and you ate off the grid and you're like, oh, what's the use? I might as well have pizza for dinner. What's the use? I might as well go out for the next day. I blew it already this week. I'll get on track on Monday. And you get on this loop and it just gets in your head. So do this. Think about the last time you skipped a workout. Did you tell yourself, you know what? I'll get back on this on Monday. That decision, it seems harmless in the moment, but it's training your brain to look at that small setback and say it requires a full reset. That was a big deal for me. When I started realizing that I was promising myself I would just make up for it, why not just live in the moment? It's like, you know what? Life's going to move forward anyway. I'm back on it right away the next day. I'm not getting in the habit of procrastinating and putting things off or doing a full reset. So, and you do this with your meals, you could do this with other goals in your life, right? The people who actually change their lives, they shrink those comebacks, just the little comeback time. So instead of waiting a month to restart, or, a lot of times you think about the people that maybe have gotten off the grid in November and December, and they push it till the next year. That's future me's problem, right? Well, those people that really shrink that comeback time, they're starting the next day. They stop waiting for motivation. They show up anyway. They know the hard days are going to happen, and they start figuring out ways that when life goes a little bit sideways, I still figure out a way to show up for myself. That was the identity I started adopting for myself, and it took a while because on my hour commute home, I was convincing myself that I would just take the day off, make up for it tomorrow, and I started adopting a mindset, no, I'm not going there. I'm becoming a person who shows up for my workout when I say I'm going to show up for my workout. Now, I might not have gotten a full workout in, but my adoption of my mindset, my identity was I'm a person who shows up and starts my workout, even if it was just the first 15 minutes of it. That made a big momentum shift for me. Here's the part that nobody tells you when you're overwhelmed or you're running on empty, like low battery life. On the hard days, your commitment just needs to hold that. It just needs to hold. A 10-minute, let's say a 10-minute walk, maybe a nutritious meal. For me, it was my 15-minute no matter what rule, where I was telling myself I must start the first 15 minutes. If after 15 minutes I'm cashed out, I'm spent, I'm unmotivated, I'll call it a day. But I am building the pattern of I'm showing up and starting. It's the small actions on hard days that protects the identity that you're building way better than any perfect week ever will. Discipline builds one decision at a time. So every single decision, it either strengthens the habit or it's weakening it. So there isn't this neutral choice. A lot of times people think, well, I'm kind of in the middle. That's ambivalence. And that's you spend a lot more energy getting into that state. Your brain is always keeping score, whether you notice it or not. So that kind of commitment, it comes from deciding ahead of time. That's what I started realizing is like, you know what? There's going to be these days when I feel unmotivated. There's going to be these days when I have a headache. There's going to be these days when I have a huge to-do list. There's going to be these days where the dogs puked on the carpet and I need a treat to them, take care of them. There's going to be those days, not every day, but when those days happen, I'm still showing up for myself. And I've made that decision already in advance. I'm not waiting like, well, today was a busy day. I look to get on track right away. Now, if I did get sidetracked, and there are those days, I'm getting right at it the next day. I'm not beating myself up mentally and telling myself, well, I'll just start over on Monday. No, that's not the option. It's getting started right now, the very next opportunity. Consistency, it's built by getting back up quickly every time life knocks you a little bit sideways. The comeback matters more than the streak ever will. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. You can drop those down in the comments. I promise I will reply. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff, and we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find the show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.